Asbel left home and fled for the capital today. I know that insisting he stay and become the next Lord of Lot went against his wishes, but it was never my intention to rob him of a future. Unfortunately, that appears to be how he saw things. I bet my will to avoid repeating the mistakes made by my father and made completely new mistakes. And now it seems I may have made entirely different ones. Yeah, exactly. So are you gonna, like, go to, this is not what you should do as a dad! If Asbel was, like, 16, or especially if he was, like, 18, and he left and was like, I'm gonna go do my own thing, Dad, then you should let your son go and be like, I will have no choice but to trust in my sons and that he will do well. Like, I will have to trust that Asbel will do what is right. When Asbel is 11 and leaves your home to go off to the capital or whatever, you should not allow that to happen. He is a child. Also, don't sell your son off to a foreign nation. Especially, like, it would be one thing, right? If, like, Oswell was gonna, like, invade Lant or something, and he was like, if you give me your son as, like, a peace offering to, like, be raised by us, then I'll, you know, like, if there was something that, like, put a gun to Aston's head, and he was like, I'm gonna have to give up Hubert, but I'm gonna do my best to make sure it's as good for him as possible, that would be one thing. Aston sent Hubert away, broke up these two brothers, broke up his family, and, like, his very easily scared and terrified son sent him to a foreign nation to be raised by a foreign man, completely alone. He made that decision because he was worried that Hubert and Asbel would get upset at each other for wanting the same job position. It's indefensible. It is indefensible. I have no choice but to trust in my sons and their potential. I must believe that Asbel and Hubert can bring hope back to Lant, and that no challenge will be too great for them to overcome. Be strong, my beloved sons, I believe in you. Not enough to, like, try and actually be a dad to you, though. Like, it's so annoying, because they try and frame this thing of, like, oh, he's a dad, and of course a dad really cares about his kids. Yeah, of course a dad cares about his kids. But the way you go about showing your affection for your children and how you treat them is very important. And Aston does it in the worst way imaginable. I get mad every single time I'm reminded about Aston in this game. He is just... But here's the thing, right? Is the only reason I'm mad about it is because if they were trying to show that Aston was a terrible dad, then I would be like, yeah, he was. Wow, they really made me hate him. Good job. They wanted me to hate him. But the way the game frames it is that the game wants you to be like, oh, Aston actually wasn't that bad after all. He was! He was terrible! He was awful! And that's why I get mad at the game for this part, is because I think that they're trying to be like, actually, Aston was a good guy. And, like, or a good, not good guy. Aston was a good father at the end of the day. And no, he wasn't. He was a bad father. He was a terrible father. Maybe he was a good person. Maybe I find it hard to believe that he was a good person when he shipped Hubert off. Maybe he was a good lord to his land or whatever. I know that Cheria mentioned that he would always do nice things for her on, like, when she would get in trouble and whatnot. He was not a good father. At all. When your father was your age, your grandfather chose him to rule Lant instead of your uncle Alden. As Alden was the eldest son, the decision was quite a surprise, but your grandfather would not be swayed. A fierce argument soon erupted between your father and Alden. Eventually, your uncle was banished from Lant, and he died without ever resolving his feelings. This actually makes me think even less of Aston. Aston was like, I don't want the argument between my sons to come about or whatever. The reason, Aston, that your brother and you had a fight is because your grandfather, presumably, is literally like Thor and Loki or whatever. No, it's not Thor and Loki. It's even worse than that. That was a bad example. Sorry, that's not what I meant. I was thinking of Naruto is what I'm thinking of. Indra and Asura from Naruto. You and your older brother were raised with the belief and expectation that your older brother would become Lord. But then, your dad did a switcheroo when it was time to name the new Lord. After, presumably, your older brother had been raised with the idea and thought process of becoming the next Lord and then having it ripped out from under him. That's a terrible thing for Aston's father to have done. Aston did not have to split up his sons and send them countries away from each other for 7 years. What Aston should have done is he should have grown up either A, raising both sons and telling them one of you will be Lord of Lant, one of you will be advisor or whatever, whichever one of you is more qualified, one of you will get it, the other one will get to be like the right-hand man or whatever. Or you should have just said, Asbel, from their birth, you should have made sure both sons were clear. When Asbel is older, Asbel will be Lord of Lant. Hubert, you will not be Lord of Lant, but you can be Asbel's right hand, or if you want to try do something else with your life, if you want to go out and do something else, if you want to go to Barona, if you want to join the military, whatever, you can choose to do something else, but Asbel is the one who becomes Lord of Lant. There's no misunderstandings. Make sure you both know that. Please don't resent each other. Let's have a nice, open, honest dialogue with each other. That's what he should have done. Instead, he did the worst things he could have possibly done in this scenario, other than maybe literally just repeating what his father did. It actually, if he had repeated what his father did, it would have turned out better, because if Asbel and Hubert had grown up to be like 18 or whatever, and then Aston had been like, hey, I think Hubert is the better lord, we're gonna make him lord instead of Asbel, Asbel, because of how Asbel is as a person, probably would have been like, yeah, that's fair. That makes a lot of sense, actually, that's fine. I'll just be like a knight or his right-hand man or whatever. The point here is that Aston is a buffoon. Aston is a fool who actively, like, caused a major rift in his entire family, but especially his two sons, that his two sons now have to work out with each other due to his father being terrible. Ugh. It makes me mad, man. This narrative part of the story makes me mad. Eventually, your uncle was banished from Lant, and he died without ever resolving his feelings. Your father blamed himself for this, and he was determined that you two not walk the same path, so he went about it in the worst way imaginable. That's why he made it no secret that Asbel was to inherit Lant. He made it no secret that Asbel was to inherit Lant. Then why did he send Hubert away? Why? And also why he wanted Hubert to have access to the kinds of opportunities the Oswald family could provide. Did you ever maybe think about, I don't know, I understand that, like, Hubert was 10 at the time, but did you ever maybe think about, like, hey, talking to your son and being like, hey, son, I want you to have opportunities and not be in the shadow of your brother. Like, what can we do to make that happen? Like, would you like to go to a foreign country? Would you like to maybe, like, go enroll at the Knights Academy in Barona so that you're just, like, one port drive away, like, one ship, like, passage away from us getting to see you? Would you like to continue to grow up along with Asbel for maybe like another 3 or 4 years and then make this decision? Would you like to just stay here and work under Asbel as his like right-hand man and like help with Lant while not being the Lord? There's so many options. There are so many options that he could have done that would not have ruined his relationship with his sons and also caused a huge rift between his sons in the first place. And Vincent's in chat, I love you, man. You're around here so much. You've been around. You're a cool dude. But I just truly disagree with you. That, like, you're saying, like, I feel like I'm the only one who understands Aston. You've literally just listed the stuff of, like, Aston was trying to, like, do what he thought was best for his kids and all that. I just don't agree with, like, I understand Aston. I just think Aston is an idiot and a terrible dad for making the decisions he did, regardless of what his reasonings were. It does not matter what his intentions were. What matters is that what he chose to do was objectively a terrible option for his family. At the absolute end of the day, I think the worst part of what Aston did was jumping it on Asbel and Hubert. And again, I understand that they were like 10 and 11. And if you're thinking to yourself, if Aston was thinking to himself, they're too young to have this difficult conversation about how this might be best for Hubert, well then maybe you shouldn't do it until they're a bit older and can fully understand it and have an open dialogue with them. What he should have done is he should have talked with his sons, told them about his worries with his uncle and how he was worried for them and all, and had like an actual conversation with his family. Instead, he made unilateral decisions for both of his kids, and then was like, well, I hope that I didn't ruin them for all eternity. I'm just gonna believe that what I did was best, and if I was wrong, well, I'm gonna die before that becomes a problem I have to deal with. He's terrible. He's awful. Also, again, no matter what, even if he went through with the whole Hubert thing, even if I could understand the, like, giving Hubert up for adoption thing because he thought it was best for him, at the end of the day, his 11-year-old son ran away from home. A truly good father would have been out hunting Asbel again within 24 hours. In this universe where there are like monsters roaming around and like Asbel has shown that he's capable of fighting monsters and whatnot, I could see Aston not going to find Asbel like immediately day of. If 2 days have passed, Aston, and you have not seen your son, who is supposed to be living in your home with you, you go find him. You go find him and bring him back home because he's an 11-year-old. He's a minor. And you talk with him and you try to work it out as best as you can. Instead, Aston apparently cared so little about his relationship with Asbel, he was just like, I'm gonna wait, I don't know. Hopefully I won't die in the next 7 years, and when Asbel comes back, we can talk it out. I'll just miss 7 years of my son's life and hope that he doesn't hate me when I see him next. Terrible, terrible behavior. Awful dad. Terrible dad. I did not, I think I've been ranting about this for 20 minutes. Some people on YouTube have definitely been hitting the right arrow key. They might have already clicked on to, like, the next video. In truth, this decision haunted him even to the end. Oh, did it? Well, if it haunted him until he died, maybe he should have gone and found Asbel and tried to rectify it. He worried that he was trying too hard to repent for what had happened with his brother, and that this may have caused you both to suffer needlessly. Yeah, correct. He was right. It did exactly that, like a lot. Dad. He just had to leave something like this behind. How am I supposed to keep hating him now? I would still hate him. I would still hate him, personally. Like, well, you don't want to hold that hate in your heart. I'd probably, like, try and let it go. But, like, I would maybe not hate your father, but I would still be like, man, my father really screwed that up. This is so like him. Why couldn't he have told us all this sooner? That would have fixed a lot of problems, wouldn't it? Why did it have to wait until he was dead? But you know, things actually worked out like he had hoped. Well, I mean, you guys worked it back out, but here's the thing, right? Is that, on one hand, Asbel is right. Things worked out and Hubert and Asbel have buried the hatchet. On the other hand, if Aston hadn't done it in one of the worst ways imaginable, maybe you and Hubert wouldn't have had to, Hubert wouldn't have resented you for so long, and you wouldn't have had to deal with him, like, throwing you out of town and all that for like a month or however long it was in-game. You know, I'm just saying. Just because it did work out in the end does not mean that it was the right decision, by far. Like, by any means. And now we fight not just for Lance's future, but for the future of the entire world. Hope you're still watching over us, Dad. I'm not, well, he's probably watching from under you. I mean, what? Who said that? I'm not that bright, so I'm sure I'll need your guidance in the future. And when I do, I hope you'll be there to sniffle. Oh, Asbel. Asbel. If you watch Chaos's other two playthroughs, he rants at this point every time. Do I? I don't remember. It makes me really mad, dude. I hate Aston. I hate him a lot. I mostly hate how the game tries to justify him, because I think the game trying to justify him, they try too hard for it, and Asbel and Hubert kind of get over it too easily, in my opinion.
Did King Richard intentionally merge with Lambda?
It sure looked that way. Who would allow something so horrible to happen to themselves?
Lambda must be manipulating Richard. That has to be it.
That's why it's necessary for me to eradicate Lambda.
We'll do it without your mutual destruction.
But Asbel will never be able to save Richard.
All right, that's enough, you two.
I don't think that is enough, you two. This is actually, like, we really need to drive home to Sophie that she's not allowed to, you know, blow herself up. That's probably an argument we really need to be having consistently until she gets it through her head. I'm just throwing it out there. That conversation is not really the kind of conversation that you can just be like, that's enough, guys. We'll bring this back up later, not at the dinner table, etc.
Asbel, I need to speak with Sophie for a moment. Do you mind getting started without us?
No, that's fine.
Thanks. We'll be right back. Come on, Sophie. What is it?
Well, I just wanted to say that I'm happy.
You're happy?
I'm happy you didn't die. If you had sacrificed yourself, we wouldn't be able to talk like this. Just thinking about it makes me sad.
Is dying sad?
Well, yeah. I mean, once someone dies, they're gone. You can't talk to them or tell them stupid jokes or do anything. I mean, what if we all died and you never saw us again? Think about it.
I don't want to think about it. It makes my chest heavy. It makes me hurt.
That's sadness. See? You do know what it means.
If you all died, I would be sad.
Well, that's how we feel every time you try to sacrifice yourself.
Even Asbel?
Oh, especially Asbel. I think he's more concerned than any of us. That's why he was so angry at you.
Being sad made him angry?
Well, remember when you vanished 7 years ago? He acted the same way then. I tried to talk to him, but it only made things worse. And so I just waited around and cried a lot. And blamed Asbel, I suppose.
Blaming Asbel is, you know, it's a pretty classic go-to.
But now I realize he was hurting just like me, and getting mad was all he could do. Men are bad at feelings. Sometimes getting angry is all they really know.
So he was angry because he was sad? That's strange.
Honestly, you're not much good at expressing feelings either.
I'm not?
Geez, how long are they gonna stay out there?
I'll go see what's up.
Sorry, I was looking at something in Discord for a second there. What's up, guys? What are you doing? Go on already. I'm on it. Asbel, go get your wife and child moment. I'm staying here. If you're gonna go, then go. Oh, you hear that? My Pascal super stomach alarm is ringing. Hurry it up already. Oh, I too have a super stomach alarm. That one maid is always standing in that corner every time.
I refuse to give up. Sophie has to understand that Lambda's destruction will never equal the value of her own life.
Hey, what happened? Did you find them?
Right. I have to find Cheria and Sophie.
Hold it together, kid.
Where'd they go again? The garden?
Hold it together, kid. Hey, recharge my mixer real quick, please. Yeah, I was about to say it's really low, isn't it? I'm at 12 eggs. And 9 lumps of clay. Okay, these both need to change to something else. You know? You know. Oh, legendary metal is like a 10% chance, actually. It's better than I thought. So let's do that, and then the spice set. All right.